Hi, she's the boss, Daniela Genus, back today with lesson 8 of the 9 lessons I learnt on my entrepreneurial journey. For the month of July, we are in July, yeah. For the month of July, I've been sharing the key lessons and the most significant lessons, I'd say, that I learnt or have learnt on my entrepreneurial journey. Starting from me starting my first business in 2007 all the way up to today. Morning, Ladies Entrepreneurship Club. Morning, Felicity. So today's lesson is entitled Rebuilding, Starting with the End in Mind. If you haven't watched any of the previous lessons of the day, please go and have a watch on Instagram Live or on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. I've covered a vast range of topics, including the power of the personal brand, education is the key, building a strong team, the importance of systems and processes, and all of that good stuff. But today I'm talking about rebuilding. So in the last session, I spoke about me selling my business and building a personal brand in the first business, and then using some of the kind of social currency from that first business, or that I built up whilst running that first business, to launch the new one. So deciding to rebuild and deciding to start a new business kind of was a bit of a no-brainer. And it's interesting because a lot of people, during the time that I wasn't running any business, so I was doing my MBA and my daughter was a baby, so I was kind of doing mom stuff, and I was looking and kind of considering the type of business that I wanted to start, whilst also essentially grieving for the first business because I didn't want to sell it. I've been quite clear on that over the last few years. It wasn't a choice, it was something that was kind of forced upon me that I didn't want to do. And so therefore I went through a period of grieving, like, oh my gosh, like, who am I? What am I? The fact that I just become a mom as well. I think generally when you become a mom, or a mom specifically, I don't think the same applies to dads, if I'm honest. There is this sense that you are supposed to just be mom. And I remember quite specifically actually doing my MBA and one of my friends saying, why are you doing that? You're supposed to be on maternity leave. This time is about being a mother. And I was just like, why can't I be a mom and be a student? And then when I said I was going to be starting a new business, it was kind of this idea of, well, why won't you just be a mom? And I know for many moms, they do feel like their identity is kind of lost in the process of motherhood. And I refuse to allow that to be the case for me. Whilst I love being a mom and being a mom was something that I chose, I also, at heart, I'm an entrepreneur, and therefore the idea of not starting another business just wasn't an option for me. So I was always going to start another business. I just wasn't sure which business I wanted to start. So I spent quite a bit of time reflecting, and I've said this in previous lessons of the day, reflecting on the lessons learned in my first business. Where did I go wrong? Where did I go right? And really kind of interrogating the steps that I took, the actions that I took, the actions that I didn't take as well, because I think that's also something that's really important. We shouldn't just on a regular basis be looking at the things that we did that led to successes or that led to failures. We should also be looking at the things that we didn't do. And actually, sometimes the things that we don't do can have a greater impact on our kind of forward trajectory. Because if you do something and it goes wrong, you learn the lesson. If you do something and it goes right, you know how to do this thing to make it go right. If you don't do it at all, you don't get any option. There's no outcome. You just didn't do it. So I kind of really reflected on the things that I didn't do. And for me as well, reflecting on the time that was wasted. So whilst I achieved quite a lot of success in that first business, and I was consistently kind of doing things and taking action, there were times where I was kind of distracted. I didn't have my eye on the ball. I was just doing things for doing things' sake, and I wasn't necessarily taking advantage of all of the opportunities around me, and I wasn't being strategic. So I really spent time reflecting on those things, and then looking at, okay, well, what do I enjoy doing? What am I good at doing? What do people come to me for? And because my first business was a service business, I didn't really think about doing any kind of product-based business. Although I did have an idea at one point to do a a subscription box with desserts, which is something I might still do one day in the future. But I didn't feel like I had the right kind of skill set and the tools to be able to do that. And I was juggling. I was being mom, I was being student. So I needed something that I'd be able to kind of launch relatively quickly. And when I'd been running the first business, I had a lot of different people coming to me and asking me to support them with business advice and kind of informal coaching. So I kind of looked at the skills that I had. Obviously, I was also doing the MBA. I also had a master's in enterprise. So it seemed kind of like a no-brainer to start a consultancy stroke coaching business, which is what I did. The business wasn't initially called She's the Boss. When I first started, it was actually called Genius Enterprise Consultants, because I wanted to kind of, it was an ode to my granddad actually, because my granddad's name is Genius, and there's nobody else really in the family that is taking that name. So I decided to call it Genius Enterprise Consultants. The She's the Boss came much latterly, after running the business for I think two years. I launched the business in 2017, rebranded in 2019 to She's the Boss. But anyway, that's an aside. I really, unlike when I started the first business, and this is a lesson that I really want you guys to take away, what I didn't do is just decide I wanted to start a business and start. I started with the end in mind. And this is a phrase that a friend of mine, Melissa Shervington, shout out Melissa, she said to me, I can't remember what it was, a couple of years ago. And I realised I had done it, but I just hadn't called it that. And it is really about starting with the end in mind. Where do you want this business to go? And I don't think I was particularly intentional about that with the first business. I kind of had some lofty ideas of I want to be rich and I want to have this big business, but I wasn't really clear on what the end goal was. Whereas starting this business, I was very clear on where I wanted to be in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. And recently, even with my coach, she's been kind of saying, what's your exit strategy? And with this business, I'm quite clear on what the exit strategy is. I don't want to sell it. I don't really even want somebody else to be wholly running it, but I also don't want to be 100% in it, because I've got other business ideas that I want to pursue. So I was really clear and set my intentions, not only on what the end goal was, but also the type of business that I wanted to run. And I don't think that we often sit and really interrogate the type of business that we want to run, and therefore how we need to be building our business to make it the type of business we want to be running. So we focus on things like the type of finances that we want, morning in our business. That, I feel like I wanted to say that in patois, but I said it in a very British way. Morning anyway. We focus on kind of the amount of money we want to make. Sometimes we think about the type of customers or clients that we want to work with, but we don't necessarily think about the type of business we want it to be. So the type of people that we want to be working in the business, whether we want to have staff internally or whether we want to have outsourced teams. We don't necessarily think about the kind of atmosphere, the culture. We just think about, okay, we want to run a successful business, but what does that look and feel like? What does the experience of you being in that business feel like? What kind of experience do your clients or your customers have engaging with you and with your business? So again, this is starting with the end in mind. When you reach that pinnacle of success, and even before you reach the pinnacle, because I'm not at the pinnacle yet, but I'm at a good position. I'm happy with the position. And I am running a business that I set out to run when I started in 2017. I've not got there at the pace that I had originally anticipated, because when I started in 2017, I figured within 2 years, it's going to be a 6-figure business, I'm going to be fully booked and blah, blah, blah. But really, it wasn't feasible. Like, I had a new baby, a little child. I was doing my MBA. I started the business, but wasn't really pushing it as hard as I could, because I was also doing a contract as a senior business growth advisor, which I'm still doing actually, part-time. But actually, what started to happen is that role as a contractor started to really influence the direction I was taking the business in. Because when I initially started She's the Boss, the focus was purely on working with women in business that ran and wanted to start or grow service businesses specifically. That was how I started the business. But then once I started doing the contract and started working with more male-led businesses, and also businesses in sectors that I have never even heard of, Like, not only have I not worked in them, I'd never even heard of them. Art fabrications, laser cutters. I'm trying to think of some of the other random businesses. Like, I worked with virtual reality companies, AI, wind farms, solar powered electric vehicle charging points, stuff that I'd not heard of, didn't have any experience in, but was able to provide real, what's the word, support, development for those clients that I worked with, and realised actually I don't necessarily have to just work with women, number one, and I don't necessarily have to just work with kind of, I suppose when I initially started I was thinking of working with kind of more coaches, stylists, you know, kind of more lifestyle business type organisations. But through the contract that I was doing, I realised actually I'm really quite talented in this area. So I regrouped, and in 2019 started to look at kind of branching out and working with a more vast array of clientele based on the work that I'd done. So I kind of started and then paused for a little bit, and then kind of came back out really at the start of last year, which kind of at the time seemed like poor timing because of COVID hit not long after. But probably the best thing that I was able to do, because it enabled me to sit and really refine who my target customers were, the specific type of projects and work that I wanted to do, and how I wanted the business to grow and develop, and what I want the business to do in the long run. So I really want to ask yourself, have you really stopped and considered number one, what the end goal is? Like, where are you trying to take this business? Do you want to sell it? Do you want to franchise it? Do you want to step away and have an MD or a CEO come in and run the business for you? What kind of team do you want to have working with you? And what kind of working lifestyle do you want to have? And who do you want to work with? And I think that's really key, being very clear on the type of customers, the type of clients that you want to work with, and how regularly do you want to be working with them. So when I started, and as the business has even grown, one of the things that I've been very clear on is I want to be able to take time off when I feel like taking it off. I don't ever want to be working from morning till night, Monday to Friday, and definitely not Monday to Monday. So I do not work 7 days a week. It's not for me. I will work on a Saturday morning, every other Saturday, so I don't even do that back to back. So alternate Saturdays, I'll work on a Saturday morning. But if I work on a Saturday morning, I'll make sure that within the week, there's an afternoon or a morning that I'll take off to rest and rejuvenate. Because when I started, one of the things that I was very clear on, I don't want to suffer from burnout. I don't want to get overly stressed because that's not beneficial. It's not advantageous. When I was running the first business, I would work 7 days a week, and I would work all day. I remember sometimes going to bed at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, which I cannot do anymore, by the way, working on the business, and it made me exhausted. I was tired a lot. And it's funny, this is a really small example of things, but stress comes out in your body in different ways. And I know that when I was running that first business, at particular portions of time, I was under heavy stress and my body was in kind of burnout mode. And I can see the difference in my lifestyle through my hair. When I was running that first business, when I look pictures and videos, and even when I just remember, and this again, it probably sounds a bit random, but you need to know your body, and also understand when your body is operating in stress. My hair was thin, it didn't really grow. My hair for a long time was probably like here, and you can see now there's hair underneath. And I believe that my hair has started to grow and it's got thicker because I've been looking after myself. I wasn't looking after myself when I was running that first business because I wasn't intentional about how I wanted the business to be. I didn't think about the amount of hours that I wanted to work. I didn't think about the way that I wanted the team to kind of operate. I didn't think about, really, although I kind of had thoughts sometimes about the type of clients or customers I wanted to work with, I didn't think about how those clients and customers would make demands on my time. So one of the reasons that I stopped working with corporates, or why I didn't want to work with corporates in the first business, so I used to do corporate event management, one of the reasons I really just turned my back completely on that and chose not to proceed was because of the fact that they wanted to be calling me at all hours of the day. I needed to be available as and when they wanted, and that's not a lifestyle that I wanted to live. It was something that made me stressed, it was something that made me tired, and it was something that made me feel very anxious. So think about the kind of people that you want to work with, and also setting boundaries. So with this business now, I have an instant messenger facility through the app that I use for my clients, and my clients can contact me on that app pretty much 24 hours a day. However, once it gets to a certain time of the night, I'm not responding. I don't respond really on Sundays unless I'm just sitting around doing nothing, because the boundaries of how I want to run a business and how I want to be contacted or not contacted have been set. So you can send the message, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to respond. And that, again, was something that I was intentional about, because I don't want to be inundated constantly on WhatsApp, for example. So there's not many of my clients that have my WhatsApp number. And if they do, I still encourage them to use the app. And I will say, you can WhatsApp me in the daytime, but when it's outside of working hours, don't WhatsApp me about business stuff, because I'm very unlikely to respond. Whereas if you message me, in the business forum, it's much more likely you're going to get a response, because I can measure that. And I think something that's also really important, and something that I ask when I do the Vision 20 sessions, is what do you want to be doing on a daily basis? So for me, it was being clear that I want to be able to go out for lunches. I want to be able to go to events. I want to sometimes be able to just lie on my bed and watch the TV. I want to be able to read books. I want to be able to meet with clients as and when I choose. So again, I've been intentional with that. So my diary is set up so that I can only have a certain number of client sessions per day, and pretty much every week there's always a portion in my diary that you cannot book in. So I've got free time there. So that's kind of more about the kind of lifestyle, but also starting with the end in mind, relates specifically to the business model. And the business model that I want to end with is not necessarily the business model that I want to start with. And I'm not going to give you too much information about what the business model is going to look like. But because of the direction that I want to take the business in, there's specific ways of working that I've already started to implement now. There's specific services that I'm offering now. There's specific things that I'm doing behind the scenes, such as creating templates, such as I'm currently creating a learning management system. And all of those things are going to feed into what the business model is going to look like in the future. And I think it's also quite key to know that how you start doesn't necessarily have to be how you end. You can develop, you can innovate, you can pivot, which seems to be the buzzword of 2021 or 2020, in both years, I don't know. You can pivot, you can change lanes, but also if you're intentional about it and say, okay, well, I'm starting now, but in 3 years, this is the kind of business model that I want to be operating in. You can start to do things now that are going to then impact and influence how quickly you get to that point in the future. And I think what's really important, though, is knowing what areas that you need to have development around. So again, a lot of the clients that I work with, they're kind of just going with the motions. And one of the things I'm always very clear about is getting them to do a skills audit and looking at your strengths and weaknesses, and then the opportunities and threats that kind of can come from the external environment that are going to impact you if you don't strengthen the strengths. If you don't strengthen the weaknesses or capitalize on the strengths. Being aware of your strengths and your weaknesses is so important, but there's also no point in being aware of them if you're not going to do anything about it. So having a personal development plan and a professional development plan, identifying areas of training. If you're saying that in 3 years you want to be turning over a 6-figure business, in 5 years you want to be turning over a 7-figure business, what are the skills that you possess now that are going to help to contribute to that? But also, where are the skills deficits? What skills do you need to build? What training do you need to do? What kind of development do you need to do to be able to build this 6-figure business in 3 years, to be able to build this 7-figure business in 5 years, I think it was. So again, I've been very intentional about looking at the areas that I need support. I've worked with a coach around kind of PR. I've also worked with a coach around marketing. I've joined masterminds. I've done different things because I'm aware of where my kind of weaknesses lie. But also, I did my MBA. Why did I do the MBA? Number one, because it was free. I got a scholarship, so that was great. But also because I recognized in the first business that there were specific areas of expertise I just didn't have. I'd started the business fresh out of university and just kind of went, I said, go, let's go. And although I did kind of some training and development stuff, so I did Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program, and a variety of other things. But my kind of theoretical business knowledge, and even though I'd done my master's in enterprise, I didn't feel that my theoretical knowledge was strong enough. And doing the MBA really helped to strengthen and solidify that. And one of the most beneficial things about that was I then was able to do my dissertation on a business plan for this business. So the services that I offer now, particularly Guide My Journey, My Biz Body, and even the Build My Business, were all mapped out in my dissertation that I did in, I think, 2018. I finished my dissertation. So again, I was starting with the end in mind. I started that MBA with the idea that it's going to kind of equip me with whatever kind of skills deficits that I had, equip me with the knowledge, the theoretical kind of frameworks, methodologies that are going to help me in whatever the next business was. I didn't know when I started it that this was going to be the next business, but obviously it worked out in the end. And then starting this business, I then used all of that information to guide the steps, to guide my steps forward. I'm not saying everybody needs to do an MBA, because you don't, it's not necessarily essential, but everybody should be really looking at, where am I trying to get to? What is the end goal? And not even just when I say the end goal, I don't necessarily mean the final point. The end goal could just mean a point in the future. So for me, it's usually 3 years, and then 5 years, and then 10 years. So I've got kind of 3 different junctures. And at each of those points, I've been very clear that this is the goal. This is where I'm trying to get to. In order for me to get there, these are the extra skills that I need to build upon. These are the extra levels of support that I need, and these are the people that I need to get that support from. And I've gone out and I've actively worked with people to support me, even with the roles that I have hired for. So last year, one of the key things that I had said was I need to spend more time on client delivery and adding value to clients, and less time on admin. So in September, I hired Virtual Correct to support me with my admin function. In January of this year, I hired JC Social Media to support me with my social media marketing and management, which they do a lot of in terms of posting, coming up with ideas, helping me with blogs and a variety of different things, so that I'm able to spend more time adding value to my clients, morning, day. So really think about, who do you need to support you, whether that's internally or an outsourced function, to get to that 3-year goal, that 5-year goal, that 10-year goal. What kind of training do you need to do? What kind of support do you require? And put together an action plan and a milestone plan of when you're going to work with these people, when you're going to do this training, and the types of training that you're going to do. And I think that's really key. And then finally, so I kind of mentioned about being clear on where you're trying to get to, being clear on the kind of life that you want to live, what you want to be doing on a daily basis, the kind of people that you want to be working with, the kind of environment that you want to create, type of atmosphere internally, the type of culture you want for your business, what your intentions are financially are also always going to be very clear, always going to be very important, integral. So making sure that you've got annual financial goals, quarterly financial goals, monthly financial goals, and keeping them visible is really key as well. And really working towards hitting them, and reflecting and reviewing when you don't hit those goals. I think that's also important. Identifying your strengths and weaknesses, identifying skills deficits, and actually creating a plan for building up your knowledge base, building up your skills, building up your expertise, identifying the support that you need internally and externally. They're all things that you need to do. Being clear on the business model now and the business model in the future, if you want to kind of pivot, innovate and change, is really essential. But also what's essential is building a business that is not reliant on you. You hear me talk about this all the time. Systems and processes is the way forward. Building a business that is reliant on you can never be the end goal. It should never be the end goal, because that's what's going to lead to the burnout, the stress, and the lack of opportunity to scale. You cannot scale a business if you are at the center of everything, because you are one person. You can only do so much in at any given time period, and not even in 24 hours, because you need to sleep. So if your business is, if the business growing is wholly and solely reliant on you doing more, you servicing more clients, your business is always going to be kind of being strangled by your lack of capacity to triple yourself, to quadruple yourself. Unless you can clone yourself, you cannot be the be all and end all of your business. So when you're starting, when you're growing, you should be looking at, how do I remove myself as the key proponent within this business? And you may be sitting and thinking, well, Daniela, you're here talking, so clearly your business is kind of reliant on you. It isn't, because as I just said, I have my admin team that support the admin, I've got the marketing team that support the marketing function, and there's a variety of things that I'm doing behind the scenes, so that by next year I can pick and choose when I want to do kind of live delivery, like client sessions, but I should still be getting paid through a range of products that I'm going to be launching, and through a variety of other methods that we'll see next year if I can pull them off in the way that I want to pull them off. But what I've done is I've used my expertise, I've used my knowledge, I've used my kind of ways of thinking, I've used my methodologies to start looking at and to develop. So not even to just look at, because I already had the ideas from the point that I started, but I've been using the last couple of years to test and refine the strategies and the models that I use, so that then now what I'm able to do is take my expertise and my knowledge and productize them, and also use them in a variety of other areas. That means that I don't have to be doing delivery all the time. So you need to be thinking about how you're going to achieve something similar for your business. One of the ways is through systems and process mapping. So making sure that you take everything out of your head, systemize as much as you can, automate as much as you can, so therefore the business is not solely reliant on your brain, because that's very tiring and you don't want your brain to be at the forefront of everything. But then also that there's not key individuals in the team. If you've got a team that everything is in their head also, you want to take it out. So even in the example, there's a few examples of businesses that are on the live now that I'm aware of, who their expertise is what the business is centered around. And that's absolutely fine, because that's what we want. But what we don't want is that you delivering those expertise is going to be the only way that the business can operate. So start to think about, as your business is growing, as it's developing, how do you take your expertise, your know-how, your methods, and productize them? Number one is an option. Or looking at other ways and other strategies of getting that stuff out of your brain and generating money from them, those things. So courses are a great way of doing this. Although I do feel like everybody's doing online courses at the moment, but clearly it works. So it could be looking at training other people. It could be looking at franchising. It could be licensing. There's a variety of different kind of business models and value propositions that can be offered that reduce the reliance on you, but enable your business to continue to grow, to continue to generate revenues. And that's really important. It's really key, because you want to be able to go on holidays. You want to be able to get sick and not think that your business is going to fall to pieces. If it's summer holidays and you want to spend time with your children, you don't want the business to just grind to a halt because you're not available. Or you don't want to have to be unavailable to your child or children. If you're one of those people that like doing that, I'm not really big on the all day, everyday thing, but don't judge me. That's just me. So think about how you're growing your business. Look beyond today. And I think sometimes when we're running small businesses, we focus on the next day or even the next week, but often no further than the next week. You need to be thinking about the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, and really start to think about what do you need to be doing today to put the business in a good stead to achieve what you want to achieve in 3, 5, 10 years. What skills do you need to be developing? What kind of people do you need on your team? What kind of business model do you need to be implementing to reach those goals? Start with the end in mind. What kind of systems do you need to be building into the business to achieve the growth that you want to reduce the reliance on you, to reduce the reliance on key staff members? These are all things that you need to be considering, that you need to be working on, that you need to be implementing if you want to build... If you want to be building a successful business, if you want to build a business that is not going to burn you out and run you into the ground. And that's my lesson of the day today. If you found that useful, please do give me a like, a comment, or a share. And if you're interested in finding out how to build a business that is not reliant on you, if you want to learn the kind of key tools, methodologies and frameworks that are going to enable you to build a business that can scale rapidly without burning you down into the ground, sign up to Build My Business Masterclass on the 20th of August. It's going to be a half-day online session where I'm going to kind of share all of the knowledge that I have acquired over the last few years, teaching you how to map your processes, how to create an operations manual that your staff and team can use, and your outsourced team, I'm going to be giving you a load of templates that you can use in your business straight away. I'm going to be recommending systems that you can use and how to automate your business more effectively, how to ensure that your business is able to scale without killing you, and a variety of other things. So if you want to sign up for that, or if you want more information, drop me an email to bookings@shesthebossintl.com. If you need a bit of a kickstart, if you want some support to grow or to increase your growth over the next kind of couple of months, sign up to Sprint for Growth. Sprint for Growth is my accountability stroke mastermind group. Normally 8 weeks, but we're going to do 6 weeks this year, starting next month in August. Maximum of 8 people are going to be allowed in the group, all business owners. Every week there's going to be a challenge specifically designed to help kickstart your growth. So if you're interested in that, sign up to Sprint for Growth via bookings@shesthebossintl.com. There is information about Sprint for Growth on my website, so if you want to go and check that out, it's www.shesthebossintl.com. If you want a more of a bespoke service, if you want me to come in and map all of the processes for your business and create your operations manual, and you want to take advantage of my consultancy package, Build My Business, you can also find information on the website. And if you want information about any of my services, if you are trying to build a better business in 2021, if you want to grow your business, if you want to reduce the reliance on your business, if you want to change lanes, if you want to look at how to refine and develop your business model, if you want to look at strategies for growth, if you need help with identifying revenue generation opportunities, again, booking an exploration call on my website, www.shesthebossintl.com. You can book an exploration call. It's free, 30 minutes, where I'll speak to you about how I can support you and your business in this year and beyond. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. And I will catch you on Thursday for the final lesson in the series. And the lesson of the day on Thursday is going to be about next steps. Big business energy, how to think big, and how I'm going to be thinking big. I think the title is actually Nah Bigger. Yeah. So Thursday, join me for Nah Bigger. 8:35 live on Instagram Live, or you can watch back on YouTube or IGTV. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, remember, think big, take action, keep pushing. If you haven't bought your merchandise yet, head over to I Got The Tea on Instagram and make your orders. You can get t-shirts, hoodies and sweat tops in male, female, they're unisex, or in children sizes, because children need to think big, take action and keep pushing also. Have a great day.